everybody, Backyard Bullion here. Are we on the brink of a meteoric rise in gold and silver prices, or are the gains that we've seen in the last couple of weeks just part of the big roller coaster ride that we've become oh so accustomed to when investing in precious metals? Now, there's an awful lot to get on with in today's video. We're going to talk about those price rises, the fact that gold has outperformed silver by over 5% here in the UK, which is a really telling and interesting situation. The gold-silver ratio is going back up towards that 90-to-1 ratio, and what impact that will have on buying strategies going forwards. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about selling gold and silver, because I've seen an awful lot of sales listings going up on social media, on the Silver Forum, here on YouTube even as well. So there's a lot of people out there who are trying to potentially cash in on some of these rises that we've had. Now, what I'm also going to talk about is what I can foresee happening in the future. Of course, I'm not a fortune teller. I can't see the future. Nobody can. So it's a little bit of conjecture today, a little bit of thoughts and opinions based on my situations and circumstances. So I'm not giving financial advice. And that's in fact one of the key things that I will hark on about here on my channel until the cows come home. Make your own decisions. Don't jump on bandwagons. Don't do things because other people are doing them. And there's an awful lot of talk out there at the moment about these rises in gold and silver prices. And there's going to be a lot of people trying to jump on bandwagons and potentially becoming unstuck down the road. So any financial decisions you watch, having watched today's video, are yours and yours alone. This is just meant for kind of opinion generating kind of purposes. So if you've got an opinion on this subject, please do feel free to comment down below with your thoughts. All I ask is that you be respectful of mine and other people's opinions. Now, I've got some nice shiny things to talk about here, some of which are going to exemplify my points, certainly about price points. You've got a 1 ounce gold coin here that I bought back in 2018 for £940, now worth over £1,300. So a huge rise in value. But we've got some other cool things to look at as we go. So the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that gold has outperformed silver in the last couple of weeks. In fact, last month or so, gold has gone up by over 15% in value, and that's in the UK pound side of things. It might potentially be a little bit different with regards to the dollar. I agree that, you know, the dollar prices will generally fuel where gold goes in terms of obviously other currencies, but we've had some changes in the value of the pound recently, and that's benefited us in a certain way. It's negatively impacted us because it makes gold more expensive, but it has meant that we have got a little bit more buying power for our fiat currencies. This, by the way, is a new addition to our longer term stack, the 1985 UK gold proof sovereign set. Absolutely love this. I saw this on Atkinson's Bullion for not a great premium over spot. It was about 8 or 9% in total, so I jumped on it and thought it would be a good one. And I bought this about a month ago when gold was around the 1180s, and this now has obviously appreciated quite significantly, and we've got quite a significant amount of gold here. So it's, again, it's appreciated really well, and that has done a lot better than silver. Now, for us here in the UK, for those in the US, you are very lucky in that you can buy your silver very close to spot, and when you come to sell it, it's very easy to sell it at either spot or just above spot, depending on the marketplace. So for you guys, you've seen some pretty good gains in silver, but for us here in the UK, we always have this horrible ball and chain around our ankles when it comes to silver, that we buy it at a premium of 15 to 20% over spot at its cheapest, and then when we look to sell it quickly to dealers, we have to sell it at spot. So for the fact that silver has gone up by nearly 10% in this last month actually means still, theoretically, if you sell quickly to a dealer, you're at a 5% loss. So we have to really see some meteoric rises going forward for this stuff to actually yield some really good results. Now, of course, there are different ways of selling, and you can sell these slower on places like the forum or different eBay selling platforms, things like that, and you can look to get some results, but it is difficult, it is tough, and that is definitely something to factor in if you're a UK buyer. So you'll see a lot of people, certainly this is a bit more relevant to our UK audiences here. You know, a lot of you out there might see a lot of the US stackers talking about silver being the next thing to really explode. The ratio is up to 90-to-1 now, and it's probably going to go a little bit higher over the course of the next couple of weeks, and we'll see then perhaps a pull back and silver will correct by going up in value even further. So there's a lot of people out there who say silver is the best thing since sliced bread, and that's the place you should put all of your money. But for us here in the UK, you cannot ignore the fact that gold has gone up by 15% in the last month, which gives you, after buying premiums of maybe 2 or 3% for bullion grade stuff, gives you a 10% minimum gain if you sell quickly at less than spot price. And that's a really, really good gain for a month. Whereas with silver, you're comparatively looking at almost a 5% loss still on those fast turnaround gains. Now, longer term, it's going to be a really interesting one. So here's another one that I bought in the Silver Forum, August 2018, £940 for this. Now, because we've seen these prices increasing quite so much over the last month, I have noticed a significant increase in the number of sales threads which are on the Silver Forum and various other platforms. There's quite a lot of bullion grade gold that's appearing on Atkinson's Bullion, Hatton Garden Metals, Shards, just to name a few. None of those companies are sponsoring today's video, but there are plenty of other dealers out there as well. And it is quite telling because there's a lot of people out there who are cashing in on their gold. Now, with the whole world being in the state that it's in, and I don't mean to be a doomsday sayer, but of all the years that I've been stacking and investing in gold and silver, I have started to feel and look like holding this stuff for the long term is actually better than just flipping it for a profit. Now, this particular coin, as I said, £940, I could quite happily go and sell this to a dealer today for probably close to £1,300, make a significant tidy profit of 940 minus 1,300, so you'd be looking at over £350 worth of profit for just one coin, which is fantastic for a 2-year investment, not even 2 year, 18-month investment. Yes, I could do that, but my long-term goals are to hold this for a lot longer, potentially to release even more significant equity from it. But at the same time, it's very tempting, and I can understand why there's a lot of people out there who are looking to sell their gold right now, because there's just no denying that there's a lot of money to be made. I've even got sovereigns here, which I've been, if we can get it to focus, sorry, you'll have to excuse the light, it's a really dark, gloomy day here in the UK. I've even got sovereigns here bought for £205 from eBay in January 2018. And, these are now, well, that's one way to open the catch-all. These are now going for over £300 a pop. £300 for a sovereign is quite a lot. So that brings me on to my kind of strategies going forwards. Now, that phrase there, £300 for a sovereign, is quite a lot. I do think that gold is overvalued at the moment. That is definitely a thing to factor in. I think that £1,300 an ounce is the highest it's been in my living memory for looking at gold and silver. I think it's its highest point that it's been for a very long time, if not all time. Perhaps inflation and adjustments would have it higher. But that in itself is a negative thing for me to look at. What's the next one here? We've got goldsilver.be 2017, £230 for a brand new sovereign. These now brand new will be over 325, 330 now, depending on where you buy them. So it's seeming quite expensive, certainly when you're comparing with previous buying points that I've experienced as a buyer of gold. However, I'm going to come back to this crux of silver right now. So for me going forwards, I will always lean towards these yellow shiny pieces, because the amount of premium that you have to pay on generic bullion silver here in the United Kingdom is such a hindrance to it being a liquid asset. Yes, you can sell it, but if you have, even 100 Britannias or 100 things like that, it's a hard sell right now. It really is a hard sell. And I know there's a lot of people out there who feel the same way. That said, there is an argument to be buying more silver than you possibly can for a few reasons. First up, we've got the fact that there's Brexit looming, and we've already left the EU, and how that's going to shape up in terms of our future relationship is still up in the air, and whether or not we can gain access to the tax-efficient and tax-free silver that we can get in Europe for the long term is going to be up in the air. So it's now or never really for silver. That's the argument. Also, the fact that silver is continuing to grow with that ratio up, and if it goes much higher, sort of 80, what are we at, 86, 87, 89 right now, if it gets into the 90s, close to 100 perhaps, that argument is there to be said that silver is going to break out, or that gold will go down. So you should be waiting to buy your gold. So for me, it's one of those difficult ones to justify going out and spending a lot of money on gold right now, because I do feel like it is quite a valuable asset. So for the next couple of months, I'm going to be keeping a close eye on the markets, looking at where things are in terms of the silver prices. I will probably be leaning more towards silver going forwards because I have the luxury of being able to hold it for longer. That is definitely true, but the ultimate game of that silver is to then trade it up for this stuff for the long term, because liquidity is really, really key. And if nothing has been taught of me of late, is that life can change on the spin of a wheel, and especially in this world we live in now. And I want to finish with a little bit of it's a difficult topic to talk about, the coronavirus, and there is a lot of doomsday talk going on right now about the coronavirus and about the impact that it's going to have on the global economy. I'm not going to ignore this and lie that it is not going to have an influence. In fact, it's already having a slight influence on our business here. The supplier that I use for all of my graphite crucibles buys their raw material from China, and the factories that have been producing that graphite, which they then turn into these graphite crucibles, has essentially stopped working, has closed down because of the coronavirus. So consequently, if I wanted to go and buy more graphite crucibles, I'd have to pay more because their supply comes now from a different source, which is more expensive. So there is definitely an impact that's going to happen. China is one of the world's biggest economies, if not arguably the biggest economy, in terms of production of raw materials and things that you might use in other industries. So there's definitely going to be impacts on that, and that is going to fuel some growth in gold prices. In fact, I'm sitting here watching my computer screen right now, and as I've been filming this, I've seen it go from £1,301 an ounce to £1,308 an ounce. So just in the space of what we are now, 11 minutes of filming, it's gone up that much. So there is definitely going to be some impact. As to the whole doomsday situation with regards coronavirus, and there's people out there prepping and stacking for the apocalypse. The coronavirus, don't get me wrong, is a horrible, horrible thing, and it's going to affect millions of people. Personally, I can't see it not affecting millions of people going forwards into the future. It's going to be a hard year. I feel like it really is going to be a hard year, and I wish everybody out there safety and security and health. And I hope that the coronavirus doesn't reach you wherever you may be. But there are millions of people that are potentially going to be affected by this in this world and potentially lose their lives over it as well. So there's definitely things to factor in about that. If you are scared about those type of situations, buying a bunch of gold isn't necessarily going to help you. I can't see the coronavirus, whilst it's going to be a horrible, horrible thing that could happen, it won't bring the world to its knees. It won't destroy the world's economy. From everything that I've heard, and yes, the media could be biased, could be skewed, but from everything I've heard and from the evidence that is out there right now, the coronavirus is not going to reset the world population. It's got an estimated death rate of between 2 and 3% right now, and that's a horrible, horrible thought, don't get me wrong, but it's certainly not going to set the world back into a Mad Max apocalyptic scenario. So don't go all in, is my thoughts on prepping, on stacking like that. Of course, if that's your nature and how you want to go ahead with preparing for these type of situations, then fine, but it's just not the way I think about the world. So let me know your thoughts on the recent rises that we've seen. I think it's most telling that gold has outperformed silver. A lot of people out there will say and have said that silver is the dark horse right now. It will overperform and outperform all of the gold gains that we've seen of late. Will that happen in time? I don't know. It's just, gold is gold. It is the place to go if you are looking for that real safe haven asset. And I just can't see that changing for some of the big institutions out there. Its liquidity is just paramount for a lot of people. And with silver also being such an industrial metal, it does have its kind of limitations on that side of things. So gold is my long-term view, but the short-term view is perhaps silver is a good buy. I do think it's quite cheap relative to gold, and that ratio is climbing even higher again. That growth is undeniably hard to ignore. So anyway, that is my thoughts on the situation. I'd love to know your thoughts as we go throughout the rest of 2020. So please do let me know down in the comment section what you think. What are you buying? What's your strategy going forward for the rest of 2020? Are you scared of the coronavirus affecting you? Are you prepping for that? How is that influencing your gold and silver purchases? And how are these price points that we're seeing influencing your selling preferences right now? Are you looking to cash out and get some profit on these gold and silver coins that you might have? Otherwise, that's it for today. If you've enjoyed today's video, if you've enjoyed my presentation of this topic, then please do hit the thumbs up button. It really does help everything that we do here on the channel. And if you want to see videos from us in the future, then make sure you hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, have a fantastic week. Thank you one and all for watching. And as always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.